Welcome, everyone, to Tapes on Trial, where we dissect a film and tell you if it deserves a reaping or not. I'm your favorite undead judge, the Reaper of the Tapes. Now, everyone who knows Scooby-Doo knows about the hit movie Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island from 1998. The film has a cult following and spawned the wave of mainline Scooby-Doo home releases that we all know about. Well, in 2019, for the 50th anniversary, we finally get the sequel that we've all been waiting for, called Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island. But does this movie deserve the praise, or said reaping? That's what we're here to find out. This movie starts out with a similar opening to the original film. This time, though, it's a werewolf rather than a moat monster. They make a witty nod to the meme of Old Man Jenkins, but it just comes off with a chuckle, rather than a laughable moment. Minutes later, they make a joke about all the villains being relatives. This is where things are already wrong. My issues being that they aren't wearing clothes reminiscent of their 1998 counterparts, and the atmosphere of the film is a lot more toned down. Though this is supposed to follow the continuity of the original 1998 film, as well as the previous entries of the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. The montage is only there to remind us of the original movie. We get a cameo by Elvira after Shaggy and Scooby make the gang promise to quit mysteries for good. A mystery in itself is who put their names in to be chosen. It was pure convenience. We then get a scene on a ferry boat which oddly looks like the original. Fred sees something in the water and believes himself to be crazy. While the gang tells him they're there to relax, the gang then goes to visit the captain, only to be warned about the zombies on the island, which again is only there to remind us of a better movie. This is where I cringe at the stupidity of explaining the story. Shouldn't someone have raised an eyebrow as to where the location of this ferry is? What are the odds that they went to a different ferry spot? And how do they not know where the hotel or resort location actually is? They just go there completely blind? Because apparently they did. Upon arrival to the island, they're greeted by two ominous locals who tell them to get out. The gang just ignores it and takes it in the most positive way they can. Even Shaggy and Scooby. Now, I'm gonna flat out say this. One of my favorite things about this scene is looking at the background. As much as I don't like the art choice for the newer movies, I do find the water in this scene to be amazingly well done. And I believe it's mostly due to the CG used in the scene. Everyone piles into the van where Fred just berates the driver by basically telling him his van sucks. Velma and Daphne have a back and forth about how the gang isn't good at small talk. And yeah, they're pretty right about that. Besides the mystery, you never really see them talk a lot about other subjects. Fred intervenes and tries to change the subject and bores everyone, which prompts him to shut up. Then Daphne asks Velma what she loves besides solving mysteries, and this is when we do get development on Velma's character. There's nothing else that she enjoys other than solving mysteries. Sure, in the past we get to see Velma have relationships, and even in the live-action films it was focused on, but other than that, we never got to see, what she enjoys beyond that. She even had a bookshop when they weren't a group. Here we get the first look at the cat creatures as one cuts down a tree, forcing the gang to swerve. Scooby being the only one to get a glimpse of the creature while everyone is a bit confused, but Shaggy and Scooby already want nothing to do with the situation, so the gang just makes up excuses to rationalize things. And while off-screen, apparently the cat creature also slashed a tire. Fred decides that instead of waiting to fix the tire, they should hike to the resort, and upon arriving we finally get to see some familiar scenery. Simone Lenoir's mansion, or as we also know it as Moonscar Mansion, which has since been renamed to Moonstar Island Resort, thus changing the name from Moonscar Island to Moonstar. Daphne is the only one who realizes that it seems familiar, but everyone else believes that it's a chain of resorts, while Velma is getting that itch for more and more for mysteries. She remembers Moonscar Island very clearly. The way that Velma brings up the past events is basically Warner Brothers throwing the original in our faces, telling us that this movie was only made for a simple cash grab. Despite all this, we get a look at the cats, and sadly the animation quality has gone downhill. I know the style must be cheaper, but the way all the cats look and feel the same, it just doesn't sit right with me. Honestly, the original cats from the original movie looked a lot better. You could tell from the animation quality that they put in a lot more work. Now the next few scenes are going to be dissected a little. We get a flashback of when Daphne worked for the TV show where she decided to do Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake. By comparing the two, we notice there are a lot of differences. First off, they made the skin color of the host a bit lighter, made Daphne a bit skinnier, but yet from the look of things, made her a bit bustier, as well as changing her lipstick color. Now, I don't mind some of the changes like the eyes, because they have to modernize it, but when you change portions and skin tones, we have a problem. They removed the cup! The cup was in the original scene, and it's just not there anymore! I know it's a small gripe, but I'm not a fan of removing that. Another scene they flash back to is when they caught the moat monster. The amount of armored suits is different. The scene of the axe isn't originally there, and Fred has a ripped shirt. In the new scene, he's even smiling. And even Velma's clothing colors aren't the same, when originally these things didn't look like what was even displayed now. My problem is, for a sequel, they aren't trying to keep continuity. Only after abridging the events of the original do we finally get to see the 1998 clothing. But one thing is different. They didn't even keep continuity when it comes to the Mystery Machine. The look is that of the original Mystery Machine, while the 1998 movie, it was more of an updated look. In the flashback, the house had an added few windows, and even the plants are missing. Hell, even Bo Neville is missing from the flashback, which brings me to my next point. A lot of characters are missing. We only get to see Snakebite for a few moments in flashbacks. The rest of the flashbacks were just there. Nothing too special other than Morgan missing a scar. Velma wants to dig deeper into the mystery, but Shaggy demands them to let it go. They go into the building as they are being watched by the cat creature. We then meet Alan, the hotel manager. By first glance, you can see he's wearing the cat pendant, which is already a concern. The fans are the only ones who remember what was so special about it. Shaggy signs it and the gang questions the pages of the guest book being ripped out, but they dismiss it. The gang is introduced to the resort staff that seems oddly familiar. Shaggy and Scooby get a bite to eat and then off to a massage, where they first encounter the zombies of the movie, which sadly the designs are not that impressive. We also get to see Fred have some Mystery Machine withdrawal until Shaggy and Scooby bump into him. They try to explain the zombie incident, but the gang oddly shrugs it off, almost as if the original incident didn't even happen. They can't make up their minds as to if they want to try and solve the mystery or not, which makes this movie inconsistent, with not only the narrative, but the characters. Scooby and Shaggy decide to hide in the kitchen cupboard, hitting a switch that activates a trapdoor that leads into the cat creature's lair, and then running into another zombie. Daphne and Velma talk about how they don't want to keep playing this game of no mystery solving. You can tell that their mental stability is cracking as even Fred is continuing to see the Mystery Machine. Shaggy and Scooby bust through the doors in a traditional Scooby fashion, screaming about zombies, only to be shot down again. But this time the zombies show themselves, and honestly, I'm still not sold on the look with this animation style. Shaggy and Scooby are convinced by the gang to break the promise, and it's montage time! Now, this movie does have some good jokes. Throughout all this, they keep poking fun at the speed of the zombies in this universe, and it's like they've never seen 28 Days Later, going for a more traditional zombie. The zombies break in. The gang springs the trap and captures the zombies, only for the cat creature to set fire to the curtains. Now, this comes off as silly to me, and to me a little out of place. But guess what? The zombies aren't actually zombies, which I find to be silly that they're actually apparently actors. Also, might I add that I kind of like how Daphne's hair looks in this part of the movie. So yeah, it turns out this is some kind of movie. Lazy writing, I guess, but it turns out that they wanted, I guess, to make a franchise off of the gang based off Velma's blog. What is amazing is they reference the Scooby-Doo project by talking about the found footage craze, and they even bring up the reluctant werewolf. Alan cries about not being able to finish his movie and shows off the pendant again. With enough convincing, he's able to continue the movie. The gang starts shooting, and Fred finally gets his big moment. His moment to reunite with the Mystery Machine. The only problem is they want to do a stunt jump with it. We even get to see Fred try to do his own stunts, and that goes horribly wrong. And honestly, this is painful to watch. During the next shoot, the cat creature tries to murder Alan, whom Scooby actually stops from happening. And Velma gets excited because she feels she can finally solve the case. Velma believes in her science and refuses to listen to anything supernatural, but she still doesn't remember the witches or even the aliens that she encountered. One cool thing that happens is a fun cat mauling sequence, which keeps this part of the movie from being flat out boring. It's honestly one of the best parts of the movie, if I'm honest with you. Everyone just flat out quits because of this, and we even see the return of the cat creatures, yet it isn't the one going around causing mayhem. The gang decides it's time to leave, so they make a break for the ferry, only for Alan to double-cross them and tell them that they need to finish the movie. Now, I want to say I know where they wanted to go with this by having a double-cross. That is shocking, but nobody probably liked this guy at all since they met him. He comes off as an asshole, and it shows. One thing about this scene is that Fred finally gets to jump the Mystery Machine. As the gang pile into the Mystery Machine, Alan gets choked out for having the pendant on him, demanding they film it. I guess he was hoping to make a snuff film while he was there. That, or he has a choking kink. The gang is able to get away for the time being, only to get caught at a bridge that the cat people destroy, which means it's time to jump the mystery machine for the second time. It doesn't do much good, as they need to do another montage to escape from the cat creatures. Shaggy and Scooby take out 3 of them, and as the 4th one begins to pounce, Fred opens the door for him to faceplant into. Shaggy leads the gang into the cupboard, which leads them back to the cave so the movie can come full circle. They imply that the cat people have been looking for Morgan Moonscar's treasure, so they leave the pendant on the ground for the cat people to find, which leads them to the treasure. But the gang decide to pretend to be zombies in order to scare them, which works as they're revealed to be the greeters and the ferry captain. The police show up, cuff the 3, and we get the stereotypical ending to a Scooby mystery. But wait, we finally get to see Morgan Moonscar's treasure. But Alan decides to take it all and retire. Velma also decides it's time to cross this case off as a solved mystery, which still doesn't really go with her character. And we get a sappy monologue about how they shouldn't have had to swear that they would stop mystery solving, and they put their hands in a big circle, promising to be Mystery Inc. forever. They even guilt-trip that annoying sheriff at the last second of the movie. We never even get to see who the 4th cat creature was, and that's kind of how they leave it. And I guess that was Return to Zombie Island. It really was a letdown. I wanted to like this movie, and despite how it was anticipated, it fell flat on its face, and I didn't want it to fail me. This doesn't feel like your average Scooby movie, sure, but it doesn't feel like it was a true successor to the original at all. It was honestly shoehorned. That was it. Just a simple cash grab. And that wouldn't be a first for Warner Brothers either. The film had 2 directors, Cecilia Ehrenvik, who directed the previous entry, Curse of the 13th Ghost, which was received somewhat poorly, and Ethan Spalding, not to be confused with Captain Spaulding the Clown. For Cecilia, I understand being a letdown because she has a track record for that, but Ethan has directed quite a few great gems, like episodes of Avatar The Last Airbender, and even a few Batman animated films. So this puzzles me, but makes me wonder if direction was the problem. I want to say that I blame the scriptwriter, because the one who wrote the script for the original Zombie Island was Glenn Leopold, who had previously worked on episodes of Scooby and Scrappy-Doo, as well as one of my favorite Scooby movies, Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. So he had experience writing Scooby-Doo by this time and knew what needed to be done to make Zombie Island into something unique. So, for Return to Zombie Island, the scripting duties went to Jeremy Adams, who was known for writing action projects, mostly Justice League and Lego-related projects. Considering all the continuity errors in this film and recent series, maybe this is the core of the problem. He may not have been a big Scooby-Doo fan at heart. Now this is the part that we've all been waiting for. Does this film deserve a reaping and be sent to the afterlife? Or is this movie going to get a pass? Well, this movie had bad character development. I would say it had bad characters as well, but we don't get to spend enough time with the secondary characters for them to have personality. Especially the villains. We maybe get to see the villains for 2 individual scenes, and that's about it. There's no red herring or anything. The Scooby Gang doesn't seem like themselves at all. I wish they were more like the original Zombie Island versions, because those versions of the gang just seem to fit so well. This movie had a decent voice cast. While I did enjoy Matthew Lillard as Shaggy because it's standard at this point since Casey Kasem passed away, I really did prefer Billy West's portrayal of Shaggy in the original Zombie Island, since Billy's performance was a fresh take on Shaggy. And I'm more used to it still, despite Matthew being in the role for so long. Everyone else is great as usual, with the exception of Velma's voice actress, Kate Masucci. I really can't stand the way that she makes Velma sound. She sounds kind of like a snob, which doesn't really embody what Velma is to me. It's similar to Matthew and Shaggy. I just simply preferred B.J. Ward in Kate's place. Like I have mentioned before, this movie had a pretty bad plot. The story was all over the place, and they left a lot open-ended. And I hate that about this movie. Don't introduce elements into a movie unless you're going to wrap things up perfectly. The original Zombie Island wrapped things up so neatly that you could wonder, how could they make a sequel? Well, they somehow found a way, and they found a way to screw up everything, which upsets me. The second part of this movie is a pain to get through, and I thought it couldn't get any worse once we reached the half-hour mark. It was stressful for me to get through it. This film did not build on anything that the original did. We never got to see Lena or Simone again, let alone Bo and Snakebite, which makes me question their absence. With the open ending, it makes me wonder if maybe the real cat creature was Bo. Maybe somehow he never left the island, or even returned to tie up loose ends. In the end, we may never know the fate of either of them. For the music, I can't begin to tell you where the music goes wrong. In the original movie, as well as its sequels, we get treated to originals. We had songs like Ghost is Here, and Terror Time, hell, even in The Witch's Ghosts and a few other movies and shows, we get the Hex Girls. But in this movie, it's just mostly background music with little to no real ambience. No mood-settling music like in the original. Even the montage music feels out of place. The music just sounds bland. So yes, the verdict is a reaping and a sentence to the afterlife. This movie is something I think all fans should skip. If you're a fan of the original, there's no need for you to see this. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'm your undead judge, the Reaper of the Tapes, and you've been watching Tapes on Trial. We'll see you next time.